Welcome back to our 2 Minute Tuesdays with Trish and Pastor Dave.
Goody! I love it when he's here. Ticka 2 minute two.
All right, today's question is another one from Twitter. So, Olin said, I grew up in a church and I do believe in God, but even as a kid reading the Bible, I always struggled with some of the things written in the Old Testament, especially the part about wiping an entire town of Jericho and killing every man, woman, and child. As a pastor, how do you teach about those issues in the Bible? Good question.
Yeah, it is a great question. And the serious answer is we usually don't, and that's sad, but we tend to skip over that kind of thing. And absolutely no justification, no excuse, no anything. I'm not going to say a thing. It's horrible. It's really bad. It's difficult reading those stories.
Yeah.
It's horrible to think about that happening, and I will not try to give any divine, churchly, or human justification for that kind of thing. It's just bad, and it's wrong. The reason it was taught, I think, is it's complex, but it boils down to this. For some people, those stories were the stories of their liberation, and fair enough, okay? But our world was also small enough that we felt free to identify only with the empowered, only with the liberators or the ones who won. And most of us saw ourselves in those shoes, and so it made those stories easy. When we started to realize that the world was bigger than that, there were also people who lose, there were also real human beings who are oppressed. And some of us also are those who are in the sphere of my voice right now. And when we realized that, we realized that it's not fair to just read those from one side and discard the other people. That actually repeats the offense. And no matter how we try to teach it and how we try to make it go down, it is bad. And so I think it's our responsibility to say that in the larger scope of the Bible, especially the Christian Bible, Jesus identifies with the marginalized, gets very upset with people who do what I just described, and says that we shall not leave out our neighbor, especially our neighbor in need. And so it's not appropriate, I think, for someone who is empowered to speak and teach those with the voice of the empowered. If those stories are going to be told, they need to be told from the other perspective for a few hundred years before the scales even begin to even out, which means I'm not going to talk about them, but I think we should bring up the sorrow and let someone else who's affected by that sorrow have a voice.
Yeah. Thanks for your question. If you have your own questions, multiple questions?
Yeah,
I don't know.
questions.
There's multiple questions. We have a forum at lightofthespirit.church, and you can also send it at Twitter. This is how we got our question here.
Right, at Dave Deckard.
And we also have his email.
pastor@sov-id.org. Ask away.
Yeah, ask away. All right, we'll see you next week for our next question.